Danny Black.
And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Card Mensches.
What's up, everybody? Episode 1 of what we're calling Card Mensches, debut episode. I'm joined with my good friend, Danny Black. I'm John Newman. I'm from Sports Card Nation. He of Sports Ball. Also, we both are on Hobby Hotline as well. So I figured you didn't get enough of us there. We would spin off our own show. And here we are. And, it's going to be fun. This is going to be every other week. For those of you familiar with the Sports Card Nation platform, it's going to be replacing half of the Hobby Quick Hits, which release on Monday. So every other week, you're going to get a Hobby Quick Hits, then Card Mensch, then a Hobby Quick Hits, and Card Mensch back again. So every other week, Hobby Quick Hits is not a live show, so this will be live every other week. We're going to try to keep it to Friday or Saturday, 9 p.m. We will let people know ahead of time in case they do want to catch the live show. If you miss the live show or we're just too much ugly on the screen for you to take, you can get the audio released on Monday mornings. We have a chat room. We don't have any call-ins per se, but we will respond or talk about comments in the chat room if they're applicable to the topic at hand. So again, bear with us. This is the first episode. We probably won't get any better, but hopefully this one we're pretty clean and we stick the landing. But happy to do this, and we're going to talk about not just this is going to be kind of a different show, folks. We're going to talk about the hobby. I mean, the name of the show is Card Mensches. So we're going to have, we're going to talk hobby, we're going to talk cards, but we're going to talk sports because a lot of us are sports fans, or most of us are. And we're going to talk, fantasy leagues, DFS, DraftKings, betting, right? A big part of a lot of people who are in the hobby as well. I know me and Danny do that. So we're going to bring all three of those worlds sort of together on one show. We're going to try to keep it to an hour or less, but we don't really have like a hard stop. So that's really what the show is going to be about. Again, first of what we hope will be many.
And I think I should introduce myself. I'm Danny. And for those of you that are used to listening, John, do an hour nonstop. Well, now I'm here as his brake pedal. I control the mute button, and I'm allowed to cut him off anytime I want. So we're looking forward to having a lot of fun. And thanks for joining us. We are going to talk, like John said, we're going to cover the hobby. We're going to do a segment on that. We're going to have guests occasionally. And then we're also going to talk about the over-under, the betting. We're going to make sure we hit Monday Night Football. We're going to make sure we talk if there's any fantasy picks we like. So we're going to get into all of that. So we're looking forward to it. And with that, John, you ready to get this show started?
Let's go, man. I'm excited.
Time for Danny and John to take you around the hobby and sports universes.
All right, John. I think the big thing we're talking about this week, you wanted to get into, I know, was this sign that kind of went viral. So let me put this up here. And I'm going to let you do the background, but I want to read this first. This was a sign on a door at a card show. And it says, "Notice, only vendors that have paid for tables at today's show may sell items at today's show. Collectors may sell items to the vendors that have paid for tables at today's show, but may not sell items to other collectors inside the building." You have a little history of this. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, so that sign was on what's called the horticultural building on the New York State Fairgrounds, where in Syracuse, New York. That is my home show. I do that show whenever it's scheduled, unless I have a something where I can't be there. But other than that, I'm always there. This was the mega show. This was 256 tables. Normally the show has 110 tables. This one is the mega show. They had the Ghostbusters card there, the TARDIS from the Who. They had Stormtroopers. They had R2D2 R2D2 rolling around the floor. Darth Vader was walking around. Had sort of a Comic Con and card show sort of feel, and just a big show. And
I got to be honest.
they
That
do.
sounds like one night after a party in college. I think I saw all of that walking home.
Yeah. I mean, I actually had, here's the flyer. I mean, this is the flyer for the show. You can see my logo. I was there actually on behalf of SGC. Really throw this in real quick. Taking bulk subs in for them. That was very successful. And so this was a huge show. Lawrence Moulton, former Syracuse University great and NBA player, was signing free autographs. And so it was a pretty big event for this town, for this city, I should say. And so that sign was on the door. That sign, as you said, went viral. I'm a dealer, Danny. Obviously, I just set up. Set up at shows or have in the past. But this is really making a lot of waves. People are feel very strongly on one side or the other. I know the promoter for over 20 years that posted that sign. I will not mention his name. You can figure it out if you really wanted to do the research. There's not that many shows in Syracuse. And so, I know why the sign was up. To give you a little backstory that you're probably not going to get on a lot of the viral posts that you're seeing on the social medias, is I'm pretty sure a dealer complained that people were, selling in front of his table, that sort of thing, maybe putting a case on a table while doing a deal with someone else, which we've probably all seen that if you go to enough shows. So that's where it came from. The promoter, I almost said his name by accident. The promoter put that sign on the door. Now, my take on it is this. This is a big show, like I just said, 256 tables. He's got 2 employees and himself. It's a lot of ground to cover. He's the nicest guy. If you know him, he's a nice guy. I've never heard him any stories where he had to ask somebody to leave. So I think what it was, and again, I don't want to speak for the promoter, but I know him well enough. I think I can. I think a dealer, 2 dealers, wasn't me. I tell you if it was, may have complained, and he put the sign sort of to appease them. Hey, I put the sign. Let's hope it works.
And
Boy, I hate to say it
right,
like this,
and
scare
I hear what you're
tactic,
saying,
right?
and that's fine for you, and that's fine for that show. But let's talk in general. You and I are about the same age, okay? When you were raised going to shows, what were you taught was the etiquette if you were going to do a deal with a non-dealer?
Yeah, I
You go
agree.
outside.
Like that's what you get. Yeah, what do you get your tax number for, right? So you can sell, pay
Yep.
your taxes, maybe, or most of them, right? And back I've done shows. I'm old, so I've done shows since 1987 as a 15-year-old kid. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you'll agree. You've been at shows and done shows for a while too. Selling back then, that's really progressed now. It's more prevalent today. I'm not saying it didn't happen then, but I will say this: the cases were smaller back in the late '80s and early '90s than what we see folks carrying around now. The stuff inside the cases is also more expensive now in relation to back then, but it's a different hobby, right? We're talking about a different hobby, a different decade. But there was an etiquette. Now, some will argue that times are changing, that etiquette sometimes can get outdated, but I try to, uh, you know, abide by that. If I go somewhere where I'm not set up, I'm dealing with the dealers, right? I mean, that's why we have,
But
I've heard the argument, Danny, and I'll
etiquette
get
doesn't
your
go out of
opinion.
style. Good manners
No,
doesn't go
I
out of
agree. I
style.
agree. I
Okay,
agree. But then, some are saying that the trade nights that we're seeing at not just card stores, but at these big shows where across the nation, even in other countries,
sure.
have blurred those lines. That's
But they
what
don't.
that's
But they
what
don't
I'm
do the
hearing.
trade
That
night. They don't do the trade night in the middle of the show in front of your table. You don't get to go
No,
to the
but
mall. You don't get to go
I'm
to the
I'm not
mall.
saying I agree with it. I'm just saying the
Right.
argument is this: that a lot of times the trade night happens on the same floor the show is. It's just the show kind of closes to the dealers. Any dealers that want to stay for trade night can keep their table and keep doing business. But a lot of people point to that say, well, the lines are it's just sort of a blur. What difference does it make? Everyone sell to whoever you want to sell. and that sort of thing. So, from a dealer perspective, I wish it was really just dealer to consumer, but you get a big show. How do you police that? The only thing I'll say is, and I've had to say this, I don't like to do it. I hope it never, but I've had like a consumer to consumer start to make a deal, and that Zion case goes onto my glass showcase.
Well,
They're not
that's
looking at my stuff, and I will just, I'll be polite. Hey guys, you're gonna make a deal. You're gonna make a deal. Can you do it? Go somewhere else. So if someone wants to get to the table, there's room for them. And anytime I've had that scenario, they've always, I've never
all right.
gotten any sort of,
You're being way
kickback.
too nice. You're being way too nice about this. Uh,
Well,
no, you
go
are.
ahead,
You're a
go
nice
ahead.
guy. You're a mensch, okay? But the dealers in general, I think, carry a lot of weight with the promoters. And whether it's this situation or there's been situations with other people who do vlogs and buy and sell at shows, that the promoters have reacted in some cases very defensively, very aggressively, whatever you want to call it. And I don't think that's necessarily appropriate either. I think that if you pay to go to a show, or if you're in the building, you deserve some respect as well. And the dealers, just because that's where the money's made from the promoters, carry a disproportionate amount of weight. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I wish this wasn't even a topic where we discuss it, where everyone just played by sort of the rules, the etiquette, do the right thing, right? But we know this, it doesn't matter what industry or what, part of life we're talking about. People are going to do stuff that's, against the grain or against the rules point blank, right? It's going to happen. How do you police it? The promoter isn't a catch 22, Danny. Let's be
Yep.
honest. He doesn't want to piss off a customer, right? And kick them out, because they're going to tell who knows how many people get it in an uproar. And he wants them to come back. He doesn't want any sort of bad PR, but at the same time, he wants to appease, like you said, his dealers who pay for the table. In some case, deal like myself, been there 20 years, right? Many other dealers have been there as long or longer than me. So, he's kind of caught in the middle. I didn't hear of anybody, where it was enforced, or I'm not sure it had to be enforced. I can tell you, I had three tables, including my two and my SGC table, where I was taking bulk subs on their behalf. I didn't see in front of my three tables. Now that's a small sample size in a 256 table show. There was no issues in front of my tables that I noticed, but it happens, right? Just because it didn't happen in front of my three tables doesn't mean it didn't occur. That sign's there for a reason. I know why the promoter put it there. I see a lot of backlash on social media. People, with angst against the promoter. Why do you have to put a sign like that? It leaves a bad taste in your mouth before you even walk through the door. That sort of thing.
Well, then let's give a couple tips. If you're going to a show and you want to make a deal with somebody who's not a dealer, and since both of us have been dealers, uh, what are your tips? What are your suggestions? You meet somebody at a table in front of a dealer, you like their cards, you ask them to step
Go
outside.
take it outside, right? Here's the problem though. We're talking about Syracuse, Danny. So outside's 35 degrees, right? This isn't Orlando, Florida, where it's 60 degrees even in
Is
the
there a
wintertime. So
lobby? Is there a VIP
not
room?
to this particular show, the building is the show. Like, there is no real dead space. You had to pay. It was $5 admission in this particular instance, and there's no. Could you go? Is there a corner
Yeah.
you could go into? Sure, there is, but you're still, if you want to play by the technical rules, you're still on the show floor. The promoter, if he saw it and wanted to act on it, could say, "Hey, I don't want to see that in here," right? But I didn't see any of that occurring, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just didn't hear about it or see it. I'm assuming I would have heard about it, but again, I can't say that with 100% certainty. So you could probably find a quiet corner. You could go out in a car and get in the car, right?
Yep.
Both people, one in the passenger side, one in the driver's side, put the case in the middle, cases,
John,
you
I think
know,
you're
and
John. I think you're explaining something totally different.
yeah. Uh,
No parking lot deals with cases other than baseball cards.
yeah. Well, maybe whatever floats your boat, so to
Right.
speak. I don't know. It doesn't. I think the biggest thing that bothers me, and it's only happened a few times in I can't count how many years, is when someone puts their cases on your card cases on your showcases, right? And I have a friend. I'll tell this story. I have a dealer friend of mine. Someone did that. I don't even know if it was to sell to just another regular person. I think they just set it down to look at the other case, and the case broke the glass.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, what did the person say to you after it happened?" He said, "Oh man, I'm sorry about that." Picked up his case and walked away.
And those
Walked.
cases are expensive, people. By the way.
They're $110, but it's
Yeah.
it's still 110. It's $110, $110. That's a good chunk of change. But I said he just walked away, didn't like offer to pay, and he said nope. And I said, "What did you do?" He goes, What am I going to do? Like tackle the guy?" So that would bother. Like if that was me, I would probably. I don't want. You just told me I was a nice guy. I would probably come out from my table and say, "Sir or ma'am or whoever, hey, your case just went through my glass showcase. How are we going to handle this, right?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, am I going to charge them $110? No, it's not a new case. It's an old case, but I got to get the glass replaced if I want to still use this thing, right? I don't know what
No,
a
the
sheet of
answer is
glass costs.
the answer is
Yeah, I
$110.
know, but it's not new.
Go find a broom.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I got
You
you.
know.
I'm just glad it hasn't happened to me, but it did happen to a friend of mine where a case went through a showcase,
Well,
right? So
don't jinx yourself.
yeah, probably just did. So
Okay, well, I'm going to catch you off guard real quick because there's something I forgot to ask you all fair, so I'm just going to throw it in here.
go ahead.
Okay,
I'm
you're a Mets fan. You just traded one Cy Young for another. What Verlander, Degrom. Which way did you want it to go, and are you happy with the way it ended up with the Mets?
I love DeGrom, man. I didn't want to see him go, but I didn't. I had a feeling the Mets weren't going to be able to match what he got. He's been a little injuries here and there. He's not old. Verlander's older. It's just a 2-year deal with coming in with Verlander, where DeGrom got 5 years with the Rangers. I'm glad they got Verlander with DeGrom leaving. You know what I mean? It's hard to compare them. Verlander's older. You get the Kate Upton show for free for what that's worth, and
I
now it's
believe
going to
they
be the
pay
Kate
for
Upton
Canton
show.
and they throw
The
in
Kate
Justin
Upton show is
Verlander.
going to be in New York, not Houston, right? So this could get interesting. The stuff off the field might be more interesting than what's going on the mound, quite frankly. So
I don't know if people remember when Verlander did not win the Cy Young one year, and it was a controversial. She put out quite a quote. So if you want to Google that, you can
oh yeah,
see
I
what
remember.
what a loving spouse does in to support their husband.
Yeah. Well, hey,
Um,
the Mets have the highest payroll right now in baseball. They're going to actually have to pay the luxury tax. Hey, listen, this is far from the days of the Wilpons where we were signing, double A career journeymen and they were putting out press releases like we signed Aaron Judge, So,
I'm a Buck
uh,
Showalter fan. I don't think he would have gone there
yeah.
if they weren't serious.
No, and if going back to the Grom deal, like the only thing I will say, and I love Jake. He's a great player, great pitcher, great guy. Doesn't talk a lot of junk. We had a guy like that. His name was Noah Syndergaard. Just goes about the play. But I didn't like one thing he said at his press conference in Arlington. He said, they asked him what was it where he picked the Rangers over the Mets and other teams, and he said, I like their thoughts about how they want to go winning the championship. And I just thought, well, what are the Mets? I mean, with all due respect to Ranger fans, you look at both these lineups, and one spending more, maybe not by a ton, but they're still spending more. And I mean, one lineup to me is better than the other, at least on paper, right? They don't play the games on paper, but yeah,
No,
if you if
they
you'd have
play them
took
with
the names off the
Stratomatic.
teams,
They play
if
them
you
with
took the
Stratomatic like men.
yeah. Well, if you took the names off the teams and you just said, here's the roster, I'm going to take the Mets roster without even knowing, it's the Mets roster. Kudos for the Rangers for bucking up and paying out the cash. And I don't wish, DeGrom ill. I wish he was still a Met, but didn't work out. We had to kind of, scramble. They scrambled and got Verlander. I'd rather they did that than not do that, and that's where we're at.
Well, I'm an Oriole fan, so we're sitting on Kyle Gibson right now. Hopefully, for everybody watching live tonight, that's where we are. Hopefully, by the time the audio plays on Monday, they've thrown in Carlos Rodon also. So that would
Well,
make me very
listen,
happy.
the Orioles have probably the best minor league system right now
No,
in the
probably,
game,
sir.
and yeah,
Mr.
and
Newman.
and
No,
yeah,
this
you
is not
got
your show.
Rushman,
The
you
number
got Gunnar
one.
Henderson. I mean, they got players. So it's not the Orioles from a few years ago when it was pretty ugly. So as
No,
you as you
it is
know
the number one system.
firsthand, yeah.
We are proud to have SGC as a sponsor, so let's hear from them.
Experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry? We are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
8 to 10 days, if I may add, Danny. So,
Absolutely.
I sent an order. The commercial's over, but I sent an order on a Monday, and I had the order back the following Wednesday, and that's with shipping days in there. So, yeah, Heston, Kjerstad, yeah, no doubt. You guys are, I tell you what, I take your minor league system. Ours isn't terrible, but I trade you.
Well, on that note, let's talk about things that we think we know about.
Welcome to the failure segment, where John and Danny share their picks sure to go wrong.
All right, Mr. Newman. So you and I have talked a little football trash throughout the years, and for a little bit of background, you are a self-admitted Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I am a proud Baltimore Ravens fan, and we are in the same division, and we have been since the Ravens came to Baltimore. So we are got a little bit of a matchup this weekend.
We do. We do. And just real quick, I'll give the Cliff Notes version. I get asked all the time, John, how are you from New York City and you like the Pittsburgh Steelers? Well, I was born in 72. If you're old enough to remember the Mean Joe Green Coke commercial where the kid gives him his Coke, he throws the jersey. That kid and me were the same age at that time when that commercial aired. We also had a similar resemblance. If I showed you a picture of me and that kid, we had a similar look. And I became, in my own mind, that kid. Like mean Joe Green became my guy. Steel curtain defense. Obviously, they were winning at that time. There you go. Good segue. They were winning at that time. And I just didn't like the Giants and Jets, quite frankly. And took a lot of heat from my friends in New York. And how do you like the Steelers? You can't even go to a game. We don't live there. And I just said, that's my team. And that was about 1977. I was 5, and I've never looked back since. Listen, there's some really lean times in the 80s. And when, we were losing a lot more games than we were winning, I never jumped ship and, won a couple more Super Bowls. And now this year's not a great year. I had a bag with some eyes and a mouth cut out. We've won a few games in the last few weeks against not great teams. So don't get me wrong. I'm a realist. I'm not thinking we're going to the Super Bowl or making the playoffs. But the Ravens, like you said, the Ravens game is the Ravens game as a Steeler fan. And for a Ravens fan, the Steeler game is the Steeler game. You can throw out the records. It's an interdivision rival. It's going to be, rock'em sock'em. You don't have Lamar Jackson. That helps our cause. But Huntley did pretty well against us last year too. So anyone that wants to circle a W already before the game's played, I've watched the Steelers all year. They're not the team. I don't care who they're playing. They just beat an Atlanta Falcons team that arguably is one of the worst teams in the NFL, and they beat them 19-16. They couldn't even crack the 20-point mark. So I'm a realist. This is not our year, and I think Tomlin's headed for his first losing season as coach.
Well, you did get Marcus Mariota's game that convinced Atlanta to bench him, so that might show what you were up against. No, I think the Steelers in general, not at all their year. Kenny Pickett coming in, trying to be the hometown boy. Tyler Huntley, he's got a little bit more experience in the league. I think the Ravens, top to bottom, much better roster. Ravens are getting 2 points in Pittsburgh. I will take those 2 points all day. What say you, Mr. Newman?
Well, I'm not going to lie. Anyone that knows me knows I'm a straight shooter, even if you don't agree with what I say. I'm going to be honest and tell you, because I watch the Steelers every week and sort of know the MO. Our offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, should probably be at the high school level. Somehow he's upstairs wearing a Pittsburgh Steelers coat and hat, trying to call plays. He's doing a horrible job, if you ask me. And I've won some money. I figure, listen, the Steelers are going to have a bad year, not make the playoffs, probably have a losing season. I'm going to make some money on DraftKings. They've been nice to me in that department. Obviously, the L's in the right hand column are no fun, but the dollar signs in the top right of my DraftKings account is nice. So I've sort of bet, I'm the anti Pete Rose. I've bet against my team. I'm not going to the NFL Hall of Fame now because of that. And man, it's hard. I don't think I've even picked them this year. Maybe at the start of the year before the wheels really came off, Dan. So, man, I don't even want to pick this game because it's tough. I'm gonna probably. It's one of those deals. I'll probably throw $5 on it and pick the Ravens and the points. And the way I look at it, if I lose the $5 and the Steelers win, I don't know how much of a win that is because now we slide down the draft board and get at least on paper, a lesser draft pick. So
Yeah,
I don't root against my
to
team. I don't root against my team, but man, every one of these, kind of garbage wins that aren't going to get us in the playoffs are costing us draft spots. It's such a catch-22 to be in as a fan, right? You don't want to root against your team, but when they win, you slide down the draft board, and certain players are not going to be there that you could really use. So I'll take the Ravens and be willing to lose $5, if the Steelers cover and or win outright.
Well, for the hardcore bettors out there, I would also say if you get better number, take the Ravens on the money line because you'll probably get a better number there anyway. And I like the Ravens on the outright win. Now, very interesting. Ravens Steelers are usually a low scoring game anyway, but I think with Tyler Huntley and Kenny Pickett, 36.5 was the number I had there. I don't know if that's moved a little bit, but that seems really low to me, even with both of them. How are you feeling on the over under?
Well, they know Matt Canada's still the offensive coordinator. How he is, I don't know, but Las Vegas knows he still is. So that's where that low number comes. It's going to be close. I can see sort of a 24 17. That would be 41. I could see, listen, the Steelers just had trouble putting up 19 points against the Atlanta Falcons. So I'll venture a guess that the Ravens D is better than the Falcons D. So it might be one of those 16-10 games. So if gun to head, so to speak, I'm going to take the under.
It's funny as I'm doing the math in my head here, and I'm thinking, like 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals for the Ravens, and I can't come up with a way to get to the over. So we're at 36.5. I think I'm going to go with the under there as well, which would be perfect Raven Steelers. I mean, if we're not going to have the first string guys we're used to, let's have a real slobber knocker. I miss
Yeah.
that word.
Yeah. A couple shout outs real quick. Paige and Deanie Bean. Brendan Ryan says, Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas, Brendan. Happy Hanukkah to my friend Danny on the other screen there as well.
Yep. And I've been trying to flash some of those, but thank you. Paige, any updates on the whatnot? Whatnot is in, where are the sellers? Where are the buyers? So I was glad I tried that. I don't know if I'm going long term, but it's very interesting. And I will talk about that definitely more in the future. Thanks for asking. John, we've got another game we wanted to look at today. Monday Night Football. Everybody's favorite or least favorite team, New England, -1.5 at Arizona. What do you think going into Monday Night Football?
Boy, Arizona, man, is such an enigma. Kyler Murray's been out. When he's been in this year, he hasn't been lived up to that big contract he got. Coming out of college, I wasn't a big Kyler Murray guy. I thought, Arizona taking him with that first pick was kind of crazy. Then he was playing very well, making me look fairly bad on that assessment. And then he kind of became down to earth. He's still talented. He's still, can make something out of nothing and, scramble away from a rush and run for 40, 50 yards. But he's not had, when he's been on the field this year, he hasn't been great. New England still has Belichick. I know they're, not having a great year. Playoffs not looking likely for them. They had the Mac Jones, Bailey Zapp. Like, who's going to be the guy? Week 1 week or 2 week kind of debate. Mac Jones has got his job back, but he has not played well as well. I think this is going to be one of
He's
them
been
sort of.
inconsistent.
Yeah, for sure. You got a 4. I see the 43 points, the 43 over under. I think it's going to be under, just based on what I said. I'm going to pick New England. I think they're trying to keep their hopes alive. They got to win in that division, which is actually pretty good this year with the Bills and Jets and Miami playing well. I'm not saying New England makes the playoffs. I just think they stay alive for another week. I'm going to take them and the points, but take the under. I would take the under in this game. And like the opening says, disclaimer, bet at your own risk. This is what we call the failure segment for a reason, I think, till we prove otherwise.
Yeah, and the fine print, do not follow this advice.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take New England here as well. I like any Bill Belichick team later in the season, once they've had kind of that time period to learn his system, and that which changes every year, and get all the right pieces in place, especially without a preseason now. They seem to get stronger throughout the season consistently. So I'll take a Bill Belichick team. Different than you, I think we're going to see a little bit of a shootout here. We're going to be inside the dome. I think Mac Jones has the ability, as he's shown, to put up a big game. So I'm going to take the over here. I actually think this is going to be a shootout. I could see a 34-27 type of game.
Well, keep in mind, Matt Patricia's the offensive coordinator. He's a defensive guy.
Yep.
So they're all. I think the coordinators are sort of not in the right positions. You got Belichick's son Steve calling the defense. You could argue, nepotism there, or there were probably better candidates, but he went with his kid. I'm not going to complain too much of that, but why not have a real offensive guy calling the offense? You might see Josh McDaniels back there next year if the Raiders keep losing games as they've been
Isn't
doing
that
in the fashion they've
unbelievable
been
what's
doing.
happening? I mean, is that unbelievable what's going on in Oakland?
Yeah, it's
Or
crazy. Well, you
Vegas?
look at all. Yeah, I know. I do it too. You look at the Belichick coaching tree. Name a successful Belichick coaching tree coach that has done anything. It really. I'm at loss.
Vrabel might be the most successful, and he doesn't have a ring.
Very Yeah, you could argue Vrabel, but you could also say he's kind of petered out once they get to the postseason. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he's probably the best one. I mean, if you're a lawyer and you're trying to argue the case, you know, Vrabel's your exhibit A for sure, but you don't have much after Vrabel. And I mean, some of these guys, you know this, Danny. People out there listening to this right now know this. I mean, some of them have been epic. You know, McDaniel's failed in Denver. He's not looking good in the same division with the Las Vegas Raiders. But you know, the nice thing is they always know they can come home to daddy in New England, and he's got a spot for him, just like Matt Patricia. So they're playing with house money when they leave.
I mean, Devontae Adams is having a good year. Josh Jacobs is having a good year. You know, is it the defense? It seems like the
Yeah,
defense is a little bit of a sieve.
Yeah, I think the defense is suspect. I mean, the Colin Farrell, I
Yep.
probably saying his name, the Clemson kid that they picked very early when he was projected late first round. You know, I like Mike Mayock when he was on the NFL Network. I don't
Yeah.
like the GM Mike Mayock. He's not there now. Obviously, he kind of went out the door in the Gruden fiasco, but he made some terrible picks. They tried to get cute. They tried to say, hey, we're smarter than you guys. We're going to take a guy that's not even rated this high because we think we know something you don't. That blew up in their face, and now they're reaping the repercussions of that. They really sort of got to go in there and sort of like a wound, got to clean it out, pour some hydrogen peroxide, and sort of, you know, wait till the scab's over and new skin comes. There's an analogy you didn't think you were going to
I was about
here
to say
tonight.
I was going to eat.
But
I was going to eat a little bit
you know,
afterwards, but yeah, it may
you know,
just turn
and
into a
I think
drink.
too, Dan. I don't know what you think about this. When you hire a coach like McDaniel's, who's a great coordinator, right? Some guys are just better coordinators than head coaches, but when you hire a guy like that, who really knows in the back of his mind, like if I'm not successful here, I can go back to New England as long as Belichick's there and have a job. How you know what I mean? When that's in the back of your mind, are you again? I don't know Josh McDaniels, but are you getting 100% when he sort of has sort of a safety net to go back to New England if he's not successful in Las Vegas? You know what I mean? Like if you have a job, if you're an employee and you know, like, hey, if this don't work out, I can have my old job back. Sure, I'm not saying he's losing on purpose, but
I mean,
he may not.
isn't it self pride though? Isn't it? I don't know, your legacy. Do you want to be known as Belichick's baby, or do you want to be known as an offensive Kyle Shanahan? Sean McVay, one of these guys.
Well, sure, I think they want to be successful on their own, but when you're successful under a guy and you have 6 rings on your hand, make or 4 or 5, depending on how long you're tenured there. If you're, I don't know, if you're a single guy or a married guy and you're going to the same places Robert Kraft is, having 4 or 5, 6 rings is a nice conversation piece. So I don't think they mind coaching under Belichick. They've got jewelry out of the deal. Obviously, when they leave and take a head coach job, sure they don't want to fail, right? Who wants to fail anything you do? But I think when you sort of can come back home to the Patriots and Belichick will take you back. I mean, look at Patricia. He didn't even have the defensive coordinator position was filled by Belichick's son. You say, well, how could Patricia go back? Right? The spot's taken. They made him offensive coordinator.
Well,
if that was taken, he would have been like the guy that fills the balls up before the game.
I think we're going to see a lot of turnover over the next couple of years, especially with the stuff that's come out, some of the illegal stuff. So like you said, some of these guys are put in positions they shouldn't be. Jim Irsay hired his drinking buddy, nothing personal, Jeff Saturday, but that wasn't a real thorough head coaching search, I think, on any level. But that being said, how you feeling, my friend? We're 40 minutes in. You
Good.
still loose? You still got your
I'm
sea
ready.
legs?
I'm still going, man. I'm not tired for an old guy. So let's keep going.
All right. Well, somebody had a great comment here. Um, how about Brock Purdy against Tom Brady? Yes, everything I'm hearing out of San Francisco is that they love Brock Purdy. I don't know if he's the next Tom Brady, but the word is that Purdy, and I can't say that with a straight face. Purdy is Purdy, and he was people talked about in training camp as somebody who was a legitimate chance to have a spot, especially if Jimmy G was going to get traded early in the year. So I picked him up in fantasy and both in the hobby world also.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know a lot about Brock Purdy. Like you, I've heard he was impressive in camp, and when Trey Lance goes down and Jimmy G goes down, and that's your guy, of course you're gonna say nice things, right? We love him. He can win games for us. He's played well in the minimum sample size. But you know what? The Niners defense is arguably one of the best in the NFL. So
Yep.
if anyone's going to put Brady in his place on Sunday, it's probably going to be that Niners defense. You know, Nick Bosa and crew. They're playing pretty lights out football. They're starting to get hot. Here they lose, two quarterbacks, right? Most teams lose two quarterbacks, right? That's end. That's the end. Pack up the tents, turn out the lights when you're done. Type of season, right? Yet
Yep.
the 49ers are competing. I think that shows you a lot of the grit. I think you got to give credit to Kyle Shanahan for keeping the wheels, from falling off. And
Real quick,
so, yeah,
49ers are minus 3.5. I just checked.
yeah, man. It's hard to bet, and I'm not a Tom Brady guy. Like being a Steeler fan, he's kind of been our arch nemesis. Knocked us out of plenty of playoff runs. So anytime I cannot say something nice about about Tom Brady, I try to. Um, but I'm going to take Tampa Bay. Still not playing great. They're winning that division at what 5-7, I think. So it's a crazy division. I'm going to take the Niners though. But that Brady magic we saw it. Again last week is still that tank's not at E yet. Every time you bury this guy and then put the shovel down on the ground, he digs himself out. He did once again. The Giselle divorce. He struggled around that time, and now he's starting. It's sort of being in the rearview mirror. He's starting to play better.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take the Niners, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Bucks covered or straight out won.
Check out this strategy. Little Sun Tzu here. Brock Purdy goes after Giselle.
I think, with
I
all
think he
due
gives her
respect,
flowers. I think he puts up a billboard. I think he gets into Brady's head early in the week. Purdy's a
well,
good
I
looking
can see
guy.
how. Listen, I can see how well you're following Giselle Bundchen because if you have, you would know
No idea.
she's. I think she's already seeing someone else, and his name. I think it's her karate instructor. So Brock Purdy might be late to that party. Not a bad thought to throw
John. I
out
think I
there.
think it's I think it's rebound karate. I don't think this is committed karate. I think Purdy's got
Yeah,
a
well,
chance.
I think if you're writing a script in your movie, yeah, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, the karate instructor may explain a lot. For those of you who don't know me well, I know nothing about pop culture. The second we step off the field, I'm lost. So John's going to be our pop culture expert. Somehow he's the cooler one of the two of us.
I don't even know why I know that. Like, I honestly just
Well,
hearing it on maybe another sports talk show
I thought it was.
or
I thought
whatnot.
I've been to your house. You have a subscription to People.
Yeah, no, not on purpose. I don't, so maybe in an office where I'm waiting, it's on the coffee table. But so
All right, well, buddy, I appreciate it. This has been a fantastic first episode. I am looking forward to a long, successful run. There's nobody I'd rather sit alongside for Card Mensches and see where this takes us. We have guests coming up. We're going to have guest pickers.
Yeah, can I tease the guest coming up? I'm not really going to tease. I'm just kind of going to give it away.
I was about to say there's no way to half tease it. Yeah, go
Yeah,
for it.
we're gonna have. I mean, I always call him the man that needs no introduction. I believe it'll be the next episode. We're gonna have Dr. James Beckett, and he's agreed to come on. Me and Danny both know him pretty well, and he's gonna talk about something that I don't think he's talked a lot about. He has talked about it, but when he sold his company, obviously Beckett Media. I'm sure like many of you have a lot like just sort of the dichotomy of that deal, right? Why did he sell the company? What was the backstory? Who approached who? Was it an easy transaction? That's what I've always wondered those things. And for the 2 cents it's worth, I think it's most will agree. Beckett, the company hasn't been the same since he exited stage right with the sale of that company. And I've always wondered, I've sort of the dichotomy of that deal. Why, how, I don't know what, we haven't talked to him yet. I know with those questions, I've talked to him plenty about other stuff, but I really want to hear some of those, as much details as he's willing to share about that time
I
frame,
saw
right?
I saw it in print. I believe the words were, and correct me if I'm wrong, ask away whatever you want, something to that effect.
Yeah. Yeah, he
So
gave us kind of carte blanche, to ask the question. Now,
I'm going to
he
ask about Todd Van Poppel. I'm still pissed at him about that. So we're going to get into the hard
so
stuff very quickly.
and again, some of the I'm not even so much, Dan, I don't know about you. I'm not so much worried about the amount. I just want to know all the other stuff, how it went down. Did he ever did he have second thoughts before the deal was consummated? Did he say maybe I shouldn't do this? Was he 100% like it's time? Those sort of things. So and he said we could ask him anything we want, but we're going to do it in a respectful manner, obviously. And, he may say, hey, I don't, I'll answer that like this, but I don't want to get that deep into it. We'll let him sort of,
He will answer for Todd Van Poppel. No, Dr. Beckett is a mensch. He is. I'm looking forward to hearing the whole backstory. There's a lot more to it than I think people realize, or people that have gotten into the hobby the last couple of years. So, very thrilled to have him on, and not ready to announce it yet, but hopefully by the next episode we're going to have a great guest picker coming up that I think will be fun to share. So we've got a lot of great things coming up, and excited to share it with all of you. And with that, I'm going to say good night, everybody.
I just want to say thanks everyone who was in the chat.
Yeah,
For those listening, on Monday, this will come out on audio on Monday on the Sports Card Nation platforms. We're gonna go every other week at the moment. That might change in the future, but every other week. And that we're live Friday or Saturday. We'll post all that info. Love to see you in the chat room and interact with you as much as possible. So I can't thank you everyone enough. We appreciate it. We don't do this without you, right? We'd be talking to ourselves. Not that we do that too, but it's more fun with everybody else, obviously. So
I think you just gave away the secret of how we formed the show. So yeah, no, I mean, for everybody, for tonight, for the future, we appreciate your comments, your feedback. We want to make this entertaining for everybody, so it's not just the two of us alone. So I echo John's words there. And for a Ravens fan, a Steelers fan, to be able to sit here and do this just shows the power of the hobby, friendship, and life itself. So how about we head out on that one? I hope it wasn't too bumpy, guys, and appreciate you watching our first episode of Card Mensches.